I'm dealing with a marriage today. Nothing startling about that. It's a marriage that, in my opinion, is in big trouble. I mean, huge, big trouble. We're going to take a totally unique, high-risk, high-reward approach to what we're doing today. Because short of that, this marriage is done when they leave here today. Now, at the risk of sounding rational, even logical, I intend to approach this with some common sense. How strange is that? And call for total unvarnished truth and honesty between husband and wife. Well, their names are Brian and Deanne, so let me just ask them to come on out. Okay, guys, welcome. So, Deanne, tell me, why did you want to be here today?
I'm torn between my head and my heart as to what the best step for me would be next, for not only for myself, but for my family as well.
But do you really want answers?
Yes.
Tell me why you wanted to be here. Or did you, or are you just here because you figure it's a good faith effort because she wanted to be here, so you're here under duress?
No, not at all. I'm here for my marriage.
Because this is in the ditch, right? You've actually filed for divorce and you've had him sign the papers.
Yes.
You just haven't turned them back into the courthouse yet. That's how far this has gone.
Correct.
The question is, are you willing to, no kidding, bottom line, be honest here today with me and with each other?
Very much so.
Yes.
Now think about what you just said. Because I have a life law. Life law number 4 says you cannot change what you don't acknowledge. Now, if you two are a couple of right fighters and you're here to just kind of cover your butt and try to skate through some stuff, you might get through today, but come on, I mean, it won't be 3 weeks. You won't get home before it's in the ditch again. Would you like me to start with you?
Yes.
Please do.
Okay.
That's probably the first truthful answer that's made sense to me.
Trust in a marriage is everything. It's the foundation. If you don't have it, you don't have anything. I want nothing more than to have my wife and family back. I can make it right, that I'm a better person. You know, I am that same guy that she fell in love with 15 years ago.
Number 1, did you have an affair during your engagement?
No.
Okay, so are you telling me that that is not true?
That is correct.
So you're denying that?
It did not happen.
Okay, you don't believe that, do you?
No.
Okay, let's take a look at what your wife had to say about this.
After that first affair, when he, went off when we were engaged, it took me a long time once we got back together to rebuild that trust.
Okay, so she's wrong.
I did not leave her for another woman. I was not with this other woman at the time. You know, there was a coworker that I was with, but it wasn't in that sense. It wasn't a sexual relationship or anything like that.
Did you do anything with that woman that you wouldn't have done if she had been standing right there?
No, I did not do anything with that woman, regardless if she was here or not.
Okay, so do you think you're being lied to on the very first point?
Yes.
Then what's the point? I mean, aren't we done?
Anytime something comes up, it always, she goes back to, well, you did this 14 years ago, you did this 15 years ago.
Do I not have a right to do that when it comes back in your face again? I'm torn. I'm like this little ping pong ball. I keep going back and forth. Like, I love him and I'm in love with him, but it's so hard to believe.
I'll tell you what, let's go down the list. All right, so you deny this one.
That's correct.
Okay, so we'll mark that as denied. All right, she says that you had a second affair close to the time that your son was born.
Actually, the second affair where he was calling that one girl, it was right after I had Everett. He met her in November, and I'm not finding out this phone call until July. So I don't know how long it was going on for.
Yes, I did.
All right, so you admit that. Has he admitted that to you before?
No.
All right. But you admit it now.
Yes. It was not a sexual affair. It wasn't anything. I talked with this woman, you know, and most of the talks that we had were about the situation that we were in. And I had told her about that. You know, I had kissed this woman. And that...
I just found out about that, though.
And that is what I told her. That is what I told her.
Everett's 9 now, and...
Well, kissing some woman and chatting her up about your marriage are two dramatically different things. I chat with a lot of women during the day, but don't kiss them. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on, listen, I'm just trying to be honest with you. You probably think I'm being hard on you, but if it's not on the table, it's gonna bite you later because she doesn't trust you. Mm-hmm. Okay, next, she said that just recently you had a 3-month affair.
It wasn't 3 months. I had an affair. This is why I'm where I'm at.
4, 2, 1?
It was roughly 6 weeks.
Okay, 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. Let's hear what your wife had to say about this.
I finally asked him, well, did you sleep with her? And, you know, he put his head down and, you know, said, yeah, I just got in my closet and curled up in the fetal position and just cried. It's so hard to believe that, you know, that's really what he wants.
So you're saying you had a 6-week affair?
That is correct.
He said he met her in October and then it ended in...
Right in November.
Okay, seriously, does it really matter?
No, it doesn't.
December, it ended in December.
Does it really matter to you
No.
if it's 6 weeks or 12 weeks?
It doesn't.
Did you start sending your cell phone bill to work?
I did at the end.
Okay, so you admit that?
That is correct.
Does that bother you that he's hiding his cell phone bill? He started redirecting his cell phone bill?
Yeah, well, that was my big red flag. It just dawned on me one day that the phone bill's not coming here anymore. And I thought, I wonder why. Why, you know, where's it going? So I called and they said, well, we have it going to, you know, this address. So it was just eating me up.
Do you understand why that's a problem for her? Because people who have nothing to hide nothing, right?
That is correct.
So you started hiding that bill?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you hiding that bill? What's she going to see if she looks at it?
Probably the phone numbers, the times that I called, you know, just the phone numbers.
So there's something there you didn't want you to see. So you're right to be concerned about that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remove your wedding ring when you go out?
Not when I go out. I don't wear it for what I do in work. But I don't take it off to go out at night or to go golfing. Well, when I golf, I take it off, but I don't wear it at work.
Well, let's hear what was said about this.
He'd pull off his wedding ring, and a lot of times he just didn't wear it. He just never wore his wedding ring. It used to bother me.
Okay, so that's just not true. You don't take your ring off when you go out with your buddies?
No, not at all.
You don't? Why do you think he does?
Sometimes when we go out, he wouldn't put it on. Sometimes he would. You know, it just depended. But that particular night, she actually saw him take it off and put it in his pocket.
Who saw that?
My daughter.
I don't wear my wedding ring. I don't wear my wedding ring because of the work that I do.
What do you do?
Automotive repair.
Uh-huh. And when you go out socially, do you like fix people's cars or something?
No, not at all.
So you could wear it when you go out socially?
That is correct.
But you don't?
No, I don't.
You don't wear it socially? Is that bothersome to you?
Very much, and he knew it. Because to me, that's the way that you honor your wife, is to wear your wedding ring, so that when you're in situations when there's other people around, that, you know, they don't assume that you're not married.
All right, well, so you deny that you do that on a regular basis. This is a marriage that's in trouble. In fact, divorce has been filed. It's been signed by Brian. Deanna has the papers. She's debating whether to turn them in or not. And what I'm saying is, I don't want to talk to people with half the story. I don't want to talk to people and deal with half the truth, half the problems, and have people run an agenda that they're just going to go home and be right back where they started. So I'm trying to get it all out on the table here. What I'm doing is going through a list with you of the things that you have said are broken trust for you, things that cause you not to be able to feel comfortable about him, and therefore you wouldn't feel good about him coming home. But yet you're trying to find a way that you can feel okay about getting back together, right?
Yes.
That would be your dream. That would be your hope, that you could live in harmony and honesty and openness. So I'm trying to get everything on the table so there's no stone left unturned, there's no complaints you have that you haven't vetted and put out there. And you understand why we're doing that, right?
Yes.
The next thing on the list is that you inappropriately touched Stephanie's friend. True or false, or drinking?
I was drinking. That's what I was told the next morning. You know, I was laying on the floor and she was on the couch. I don't know, the inappropriate, you know, I don't know, I think I touched her hand.
Basically, he was coming on to her, and that made her uncomfortable, so she pretended she was sleeping.
So do we take that as a denial or as an admission? It did happen or it didn't happen?
I would say probably an admission that it did happen.
Okay, so it did happen. Are you still calling and texting women?
No.
After I found out about the affair with the other girl, he still kept calling her and talking to her. After he tells me that he's not talking to her anymore, phone call comes in and it's her. The last time I checked was last month, and I told him I was never going to look again because I had seen what I needed to see again, you know, in my face. And that was right before he had gone into the center for treatment. That 2 nights before he went in, there was calls to that same person, all hours, for lengthy conversations. Just trying to get a hold of her, apparently.
All right, well, let's just go through these and get them up there. There are family members that say that you have pushed Deanna to sell the homes, her assets, to buy a business for you.
He would break her down to where she did sell, because I'd ask her, I said, why did you do that? Why did you do that? She said, I just got so tired of Brian just nagging at me. He just couldn't handle that she had that and he didn't provide it for her.
When we first met, I basically had everything. He was just out of college, didn't have as much things that he had worked for. I had worked hard my whole life for what I had. And when he sort of stepped into my world, because I already had 2 children, I had my career, it was easier that way. And when I just feel like he never wanted to be a part of all those things, and wanted to just get rid of them. So for example, when things went wrong with the rental house, he wouldn't really go down and fix it. I couldn't get him to do those kind of things.
All right, do you want her to be a stay-at-home wife?
He would always say, all I want is her to be a stay-at-home mom, and I would say, she's not that type. That's what my husband wanted from me, and I did it. But Deanne was a career-type person.
You know, I'd rather, you know, if she's gonna be at home, you know, be a mom. That's always been a big concern of mine. You know, I have no problem with her being at home, none whatsoever.
Okay, but that's what you want, and you want her to do everything that goes along with that.
Very much so.
Okay. How about drinking and driving?
I mean, he would drink doubles and triples, and when he's all Mr. Happy and Mr. just kind of loud and obnoxious, really, and then he'd get behind the wheel. That was my big concern always, was just him driving, because he wouldn't know when to stop, and he was always, no, I can drive.
But you're now sober for 52 days?
That is actually 54, I'm sorry.
So you're not drinking and driving now, but you have in the past?
I have.
Okay. How about casino gambling?
Yes.
To the tune of 20 grand?
26.
$26,000.
I didn't even know it was that much, so.
Do you believe that you have been an inappropriate model for your son?
Very much.
You concerned about that?
Very much.
Okay, take a look over your shoulder at the list. Deanna, is that somebody you want to be married to?
No.
He denies the affair during engagement. He denies that he takes his ring off when he goes out, but you don't believe that, do you?
No.
Okay. And calling and texting women up until he went into rehab, you were doing that inappropriately, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's really an admission, I suppose. Deanna is considering divorce even though they do have young children. I've always said that until you can look your children in the eye and say, I did everything I could to save the marriage, only then have you earned the right to quit. So what I'm wanting to do today is get everything on the table so these two know if the person is still lying and if they're telling the truth, if it's something that is a drop-dead deal breaker. Now, we've just been through Brian's list, and Deanna says, when I look at that list together, it's not somebody that I want to be married to. But there are 2 sides to this, and so I want to ask you some questions to see what you are willing to be honest about and what you're not. Now, you've been married how long?
12 years.
Okay, now you believe that Brian cheated while you were engaged, and you married him anyway?
Yes. I loved him. I was in love with him.
You married Brian against your counselor's advice. You even said, I'm not objective about this, I'm going to get advice from a professional, and they said, do not do this.
And I never told him she said that either.
Let's take a look at this.
When we got back together, we decided to go for marriage and family counseling. So we went together and went separate as well. And the last time I went to see her, I asked her, well, what do you think? Would you marry him? If you were me, would you marry him? And she said, off the record, I wouldn't marry him. And I closed the door and never went back.
If you knew then what you know now, would you have married him?
No.
All right. Brian and others say that you neglect the family.
In certain ways, yes. I've always been very independent, very early on because of my family situation.
Well, let's hear what Brian has to say about it.
Deanne is a workaholic. She's a perfectionist in everything that she does. That's taken priority over everything else. Our intimacy level, it was non-existent. It was like ordering a pizza. I'd have to ask for it. And even when we did, there was always a complaint. My breast stinks, or you're pushing on my stomach. The romance was gone, the passion was gone.
Okay, now let's be specific about this. As you don't cook for the kids, you make them late for school, you're late picking them up, so they're standing around waiting for you to get there, that you work 75 hours a week.
Deanne's normal workday can range anywhere from 6 o'clock in the morning all the way till 4 in the morning. The kids would have to be to school at 8 o'clock. They're usually running late because she's still on the computer. There's times that she's late picking them up because she's still doing her business. I get home at 7 o'clock at night, tell the kids, hey, it's time to get ready for bed. Let's get your homework done, let's get the showers done fast. Dad, we haven't had dinner yet. She's still up doing her things.
My work is in my home, so I might work that many hours, like it might consume that much of my day, but I'm not working continuously that long. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing other things, doing laundry.
Look at the list. I'm just trying to determine if you're really vested in this thing, or are you not?
Yes, no, I am. And the kids haven't been late for school this whole year and, part of last year because it was an issue for my son. He always hated to be late to school. He hates it, so.
Okay, so you deny that you've taken him to school late?
No, I have.
On a regular basis?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you did. So that's not a denial, that's an admission.
No, that's not a denial, I admit
And
that.
do you pick them up late?
Yes, I had in the past. They're in carpools, so.
Mm-hmm. Have you made Brian watch you date other men?
I made him watch me date 2 other guys for 8 months, and then I was kind of dating him and another guy at the same time. He hated it. It was after the first affair, and I was dating somebody. I was in a, not seriously dating, but dating all the time. And I just felt at that time that if he really, really, truly loved me and wanted to, marry me like he had promised, before he left the engagement, that I didn't purposely do it to, hurt him, but I just wanted to make sure that, it was real, that he really wanted to marry me, and if he did, then he would stick it out and be okay with it.
Do you now have an inappropriate relationship with a family friend?
No.
The family friend that we have used to live across the street from us. We sold the one condo we had and we bought another one. Well, he bought one right next door to us. He would come over to the house and fix the computer, but he'd only do that when I wasn't there. I've always felt that he has feelings for her. My wife is the beneficiary of his will. At Christmas time, he would buy the kids gifts, and he'd also buy something for my wife. And I'd usually get left out. One time in passing, I checked her emails, and she was conversing with him at 2, 3 in the morning. I think that she should probably be in bed with me. So it's always bothering me.
Does this family friend give you money?
Yes, he has.
$25,000 worth of money.
Oh, he's given us a lot of money. A lot more than $25,000.
Brian, how do you feel about that? Do you think this is an inappropriate relationship?
I do.
Do you think it's inappropriate for this man to be giving her money, lots of money?
He gave it to both of us.
That is correct. He's helped the family.
understand.
He's helped the family, but it's gone a little bit, in my opinion, it's gone a little bit further. It's kind of crossed the line.
So you deny that there is anything inappropriate with this person?
There's nothing inappropriate. I feel like you can have a friend of the opposite sex and have them be a friend when they've been a friend since prior to our marriage anyway. So I don't know why.
You go to Vegas with him?
I have, yes. When we would go for like the day, we'd just fly for the day. It started out as a birthday tradition. We would fly to, actually it was Reno. We'd fly to Reno for the day. We'd gamble and then fly home. But Brian knew every single time, and it was just mostly every year on my birthday that we would go.
So on your birthday, you go with another man to some casino somewhere?
Yes.
Listen, I'm just an old country Texas boy. Really, I'm not much about bright lights in big city, but I've been to a few county fairs. I even saw some flocked wallpaper once. But it doesn't make sense to me that a man's wife loads up on her birthday and goes to some gambling junket with a friend.
That's what it was.
Who, by the way, also plies with money.
If you know there's nothing going on, then I don't find anything wrong with it.
Okay, now come on. Are you sitting there telling me that on its face that doesn't seem inappropriate?
I don't think so.
Okay, let's take a poll. If you think it's inappropriate for a woman to go on her birthday out of town with another man while she's married, stand up. Brian, I assume you're standing symbolically.
I am.
All right.
I felt miserable. The pain that I saw in her, the hurt, and all the things that I've built with her, gone. It's like letting air out of a balloon.
One of the most common questions I get is, Dr. Phil, can a marriage survive infidelity? Should a marriage survive infidelity? And if so, how? And how do you minimize the damage to an entire family? Now, first off, do you want to stay married?
Yes.
I mean, even after what you've heard today, the things that we've talked about today, you've said, if I'd known then what I know now, I wouldn't have married this man. I've now heard him tell me things that I suspected that he is now confirming for me that violate my moral standards. Why do you want to be married?
I just have never wanted to not be a family. It's always been, that's I think why I've put up with the things over the years and covered things up and pretended and made excuses, is because I never not wanted to be married to him. I always did. Obviously, I've done what I've done. I mean, if I had a crystal ball that knew, that said he would never do this again, and yes, you can be a whole family, and yes, you can heal through this, then I think I could. But if it's looking like, look, he's done this repeatedly, it's a pattern, and this is what's going to happen, and this is how it's going to be.
Can she trust you?
Yes, she can.
I mean, now, come on. I want you to think about this before you answer. You know I am very hard on people that drink and drug. I am a huge fan of rehab, but I'm always leery of people that go become kind of these rehab products and then they're totally new people, because there's an 85% failure rate on people that drink and drug. And the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And that doesn't speak well here.
No.
You think you are a changed person.
In progress. In progress. I don't feel like, going into treatment, that I come out after the amount of time that I was there and, I'm just a new man, new blossomed man. It's every day's progress for me. I've been dealing with different things in different ways that I've never done before. And that's am I a changed man? I have changed a lot. I've changed a lot. Am I perfect? No, I'm not perfect. You know, there's still a lot of things that I have problems with, but I deal with them.
Your daughters are kind of split on this thing, aren't
Yes, they are.
they? They have different attitudes about you and different attitudes about you. Deanna has 2 daughters, by the way, from her first marriage. They've grown up with Brian as their stepdad, and they've both been affected by what's been going on here, including this affair. Now, 22-year-old Brianna says she's afraid Brian will cheat again, and it's shaken her trust in all men.
I think that my mom should stay separated from my stepfather. It's not the first time he has done it, and I truly believe that people don't really change who they are. The fact that here's your father figure and he's done this to your mom and your family, especially when he told me he would never do it again, and then here it is years down the road and he's just repeated the same thing.
Well, older sister Stephanie says the problem doesn't lie with Brian at all. It lies with her mother.
My mom's work habit did affect my stepdad's infidelity. He told me that he was angry and resentful of my mom and how much she was working. He said that he always felt we were just like a group of individuals living in a house together and we never really did family stuff. My mom lives in her own little world sometimes and she tends to block certain things out. I definitely think that it takes 2 to tango. I don't think that one person is at fault.
So, Brianna, what do you want to see happen here?
I would like to say I'd like to see them stay together, but deep down I just don't feel that it's right because it just seems to be a continuous pattern of the things that have gone over, like that have happened over the past couple years. And I just feel if they stay together, that's going to be exactly, we're going to be in the same exact spot in a year or 2 years or...
Stephanie, you disagree. You think the problem is with your mother, not your stepfather.
I don't blame just my mom and I don't blame just my dad. But I think that they both need to take ownership for what each of them has done.
So you like me asking the questions, so both of them have to be honest about their involvement in this. Mm-hmm. What'd you think about the answers that I got from the 2 of them?
I have never really heard my mom acknowledge a lot of the things that she did when you were going through the list. Mm-hmm. So that was nice for her to hear her actually admit that she is a workaholic.
On top of the emotional price, Louise says Deanna has paid a hefty financial price too. We talked about this on the list. Let's hear what Mom has to say about this.
He was not a go-getter. Deanne had to be the breadwinner. It was Deanne that wanted him to start the business, and she said, you can do it. She managed somehow that they got the business, but they were left with one home. Then he had a gambling problem, and that wasn't healthy in the relationship.
Do you think she should file those divorce papers?
From what she has been going through with the affairs, and I've seen how it has affected her physically, mentally, I feel she should.
The affair has affected the whole entire family. For me, and the way I look at relationships and men.
I hold resentments now. I feel like I was forced to grow up too fast.
Just kind of torn things apart.
Well, we're talking to a family that feels shaken to the core by the husband's affair. Now, Deanna believes that her 9-year-old son, Everett, has been harshly affected by the breakdown of this marriage, which is certainly no surprise. The family found a to-do list in his bedroom that Everett wrote just a few days ago.
It was a to-do list that Everett had written. There were like 4 things on that list. The very first one was kill, this boy. The next one was like get this girl for a girlfriend. And then the next one was buy her something really nice like a diamond ring. And then the last thing on the list was have sex with her and go to bed. And he's 9.
Did you look at his list?
I did.
And number 1 on his list was kill his friend. And if he didn't get that done, he says day after, he says, if I didn't get him killed the first day, kill him today.
Yes.
Okay? He says, go out and buy this little girl something nice like a diamond ring. And you bought her a diamond ring, right?
I did.
Was it a peace offering? Why did you buy her a diamond ring?
No, it wasn't a peace offering at all.
That's what you felt like, right?
After I found out about the affair, yes. Why would you go out and buy me this $20,000 diamond ring when you're having an affair with somebody else? Why? I just couldn't understand that. When I would show it to people, they'd be, oh, that's a big guilt ring, like before I even knew of anything. So I was like, huh? You know? No. Or boy, what did he do wrong? Like I'm flashing it around, you know, everybody's like, what a gorgeous ring. And somebody, you know, people would joke and say, oh, was that a guilt ring? And I'm thinking, no, not at all. And then I found out about the affair, and then, you know, it's like in my face.
I notice you're not wearing it.
No.
You are amazingly passionless about this whole thing. Have you checked out?
No, I don't think so.
It's really, I've seen more passion out of people ordering lunch.
Really?
Really, I mean.
So I can see that.
I mean, you're just kind of like, yeah, whatever.
I just feel so damaged over all of this, and I'm not saying that I didn't have anything to do with it, but I don't feel that the things that have been done and things in the past in our marriage ever should have warranted an affair. But I still do have that fear, you know, when I call his work and he's not there, or I call his cell phone and he doesn't pick up. It's like I get that sick feeling, like where is he and what's he doing? Even though he's telling me that, you know, that he's not talking to anybody, not doing that. It's just that.
Okay, but you understand the fact that you still have such raw wounds that you have to do that you're calling up there and checking, that should tell you right straight up, you are not ready to be in a marriage with this man. The fact that you can't trust him, that you have these feelings that you have to call and check and interrogate and wonder and worry, that is not the basis for a healthy marriage.
Not at all.
And let me tell you, children would rather be from a broken home than live in one. And right now, they're living in the middle of all of this, and you're seeing the residuals with your son. You have no choice but to put those children's interest above your own and decide what's ready. Do you think that you're ready to just move back together and resume your life as a family?
No, not at all.
Do you think you are?
No.
Because I'm going to tell you, it's not even a close call. It isn't even a close call. If you want to be married a year from now, you won't be living as a married couple a month from now. What's important in my view is that everything we talked about today, you now take as a to-do list. You have to resolve everything on that list, all of your feelings about everything on that list. This list becomes a to-do list that Brian, you've got to make amends and deal with everything on your list to her satisfaction. You have to deal with everything on your list to his satisfaction. You have legitimate complaints about her. You had an illegitimate response to them, but your complaints are legitimate. If you're going to be a wife and a mother and live as a couple, you've got to change some things, and you've got to change some things, and that can't happen like that. And you cannot move back together. Your children do not deserve a revolving door daddy. Do you agree with that?
I agree 100%.
Do you agree with that?
I agree.
I'm not telling you to finish it up and get a divorce, but I'm telling you, if you want to stay together, prove it. Prove it by doing the work. Prove it by getting involved with some constructive things to get through this to-do list. Deanna, how do you feel about what I'm saying to you?
I know we both need to make changes. And I'm willing to do it.
Brian, how do you feel about it?
I feel like it's a long road to haul. I mean, that I've got to, if anything's going to work, and it's, I want a family. I've always wanted a family.
But you haven't valued your family. You didn't treat them as the precious asset to you and your life that they are.
That is correct.
You've snubbed them, violated them, and dishonored them. And so that's what bothers you, and that's what has to change. All right, I've put some helpful information from my book, Relationship Rescue, on the website. So you can go there, click on today's show, then click on Regaining Trust. And I'm going to have some steps in there. There's just some very specific advice for getting past an affair if that's what you decide that you want to do. So I really appreciate all of y'all being here, and we're going to make some resources available to you, and we'll track this and see where it goes. Thanks for being here. So long. Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.